And chapter 4 is all about polynomials. Polynomial is something that looks like this, a string of terms. Each one of these terms is called a monomial, like negative 5x squared, and each one has a variable, x, an exponent, in this case 2, and a coefficient, the number in front of it. Okay, so we have a variable, a coefficient, and an exponent. That makes a monomial. We take a bunch of them, we get a polynomial. Each polynomial has something we call the leading term. This is going to be the most important term in this polynomial. It's going to tell us an awful lot about the behavior of this function. So the leading coefficient, or the leading term, is just the term, or the monomial, that has the highest degree. So, and the degree is just the exponent. So the biggest exponent you see, that belongs to the leading term. So here, our leading term is 3x to the 4th. The leading coefficient is just the coefficient of the leading term. So the number out in front, our leading coefficient is 3. The degree of the polynomial, that's the exponent on the leading term. So 4. And we would call this a quartic because it's a 4th degree. Q-U-A-R-T-I-C. This is a quartic function. Now we'll see in future lectures or videos that the leading coefficient and the degree are going to tell us something very important about the behavior of this function. That's why we care about these specific parts. Here we got 2x minus 5 plus x squared. The biggest exponent we see isn't always on the first term. Sometimes they do this intentionally to try and trick us. Here it's x squared. So our leading term is x squared. Our leading coefficient is the number in front of the term, which here isn't written, so we understand it to be 1. And our degree is the exponent, is our 2. So we would call this a quadratic. Right? 4th degree is a quartic. 2nd degree is a quadratic. We dealt with those in the last chapter. A 3rd degree would be a cubic. We don't have one here on the board, but if it's got the degree is 3, that would be a cubic. And this we dealt with back in chapter 1. This is a linear, right? It still has 2 terms. It's still a polynomial. It's just a very basic one. Our leading term here is 5x. Our leading coefficient is 5. And our degree, of course, there's nothing written, so we understand that to be 1. And we know from chapter 1, I hope you remember, that this is the equation of a line. We would call this a linear. And that's about it for this first objective. There is one other little thing, and that is if we have something that's just one term, like 5x, we would call that a monomial, one term. If we have 2 terms, it's called a binomial, bi for 2, like bicycle. If we have 3 terms, it's called a trinomial, tri like a tricycle for 3. If it's got 4 terms or more, we don't really have a name for that because, I don't know. I guess that's kind of discriminatory, but that's the way math is. See you next time.